I'm just going to say this and to the fans, and the commitment will be unwavering. But I won my first Super Bowl here in North Texas at AT&T Stadium, and I just want to tell you I am anxious and excited to get to work on winning the next Super Bowl for the Dallas Cowboys.
It's time for another edition of Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy, inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco. Bill Jones, along with the new head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, and welcome to the show, Mike. And it's been a unbelievable last couple of weeks here for you, I know, but you finally found your way to the TV studios here at the Star. This is an unbelievable place, isn't it?
Rich got us lost on the way down, so I have no idea how to get back. But yes, it's been great just to get started. I haven't been outside yet, so just walking from the Omni to the Star every day, but we're off to a good start.
I can tell you it's warmer here than what it is in Green Bay right now.
No doubt, absolutely.
So, what was your first order of business after the introductory press conference? And I know you've got a coaching staff that you've been putting together, so much work to do. What was your first order of business?
I mean, really jumping into the coaching staff hire. Obviously, it's a competitive time because you have other staffs that are being developed. And really the second part is getting everybody acclimated to the new direction and getting organized of how you're going to do things around the office.
As far as your coaching staff goes, your defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, who is a veteran of about 33 years in this league, 21 as either a coordinator or a head coach, and you worked with him at San Francisco where you were his offensive coordinator when he was the head coach back in 06.
Yeah, definitely. I have great respect for Mike. I think football comes very natural, comes easy to him. He's run every scheme in this league. He's done a great job helping assemble his staff, so I'm very happy he's here.
And then another veteran coordinator in this league, your special teams coordinator, John Fossil, who comes over from the Rams. What can you tell us about?
Well, John's someone that I've always admired from afar. I've never had the opportunity to work with John, so when he became available, he was a priority for us, and I think he'll definitely make an impact on special teams.
How important is it, and when you put your coaching staff together, do you look at chemistry and how different coaches work with each other?
It's of most importance. I think in not only the chemistry of it, but the order of how you hire your coaching staff. You try to build that chain of command, hire the coordinators first, then the assistants second, just to make sure it all fits together. But the personality of each coach, how it fits, not only just with the offensive staff, but the defensive staff. So like Mike Nolan's interviewed some offensive coaches, vice versa. So it's important for everybody to be part of the process because you want that chemistry and continuity.
So much success in Green Bay, and even prior to that as a coordinator in this league. How much are you looking forward to working with Dak Prescott and hitting the ground running with Dak?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think what Dak's established so far in the league is very impressive, and our offense will be built, around making the quarterback successful. And I mean, Kellen Moore's, we're off to a good start, just trying to build off what's been established here already.
And you got an up-close look at Dak, his rookie season when he goes up to Green Bay, had one of his better games in the regular season, and really the comeback that the Cowboys had against your Packers in that divisional playoff game as well. He was impressive. Where have you seen him evolve the most in his time?
Well, I mean, productivity. I mean, I think the first impression, obviously, as you stated, was excellent, and I think anytime in this league, when you're able to compete, particularly at the quarterback position, see them play live is usually the best indicator of where you think that individual is going to go in his career. And I think really since then, his ability to run the no huddle offense, and he's really expanded his game, and definitely the production of the offense is a product of that.
And then how about this offensive line and Ezekiel Elliott running behind it?
It's looking forward to it, that's for sure. That's They look the way you're supposed to look. They come off the ball the way you're supposed to, and Zeke runs it the way it's supposed to. It's definitely going to be a strength of our team.
The way your eyes are lighting up, it sounds like you can't wait to get involved in this.
That's the game. That part of the game will never change. So
how about on defense, and in particular, you got so many free agents on both sides of the ball. But on defense, DeMarcus Lawrence, of course, has the long-term contract at defensive end, and we'll see. Don't know if you're prepared yet to say where Mike Nolan's going to go with this defense, but the versatility that Lawrence has, what is it that sticks out the most with?
Well, when you see that, the first thing that comes to mind is you look at the potential matchups, his ability to play a number of different positions. Just really sitting in there yesterday with Jim Tomasolo, going through the defensive line, the personnel that's already here. We're excited about the new direction that we may go and how we're going to utilize these guys. So, but that's an excellent group.
You mentioned Jim Tomsula, who, of course, also has head coaching experience in this league. I went back 15 years ago. When he was the defensive coordinator of the Berlin Thunder, I met him, and I was so impressed. He is a guy that is a roll-up-his-sleeves guy and get to work. That's probably what you're trying to find on this coaching staff, right?
Definitely. Jim's all football, and he really connects with his players, and I know he's really excited about this defensive line group.
How about putting this roster together as you go into the draft? What is it, as you talk with Wilma Clay and the scouting staff, that you're looking for in a Dallas Cowboy player?
Really the things with Will that we're just getting started on is just the profiles of the expectation of the players. And I think as a coaching staff, our system of offense, defense, and special teams, I always felt that it's a two-way street. So just letting Will and that personnel department do their job of just acquiring excellent football players, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we fit them in and give them a chance to be successful.
All right, we look forward to it. It's going to be fun and exciting and a lot of work to do this offseason, right?
Definitely. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and up next on Cowboys Huddle, it's David Moore of the Morning News.
Cowboys Huddle is brought to you by AT&T. Ford is the best in Texas. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Welcome back to Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News. SportsDayDFW.com. He's been a Hall of Famer throughout the season, David Moore has.
No one has ever said that.
What more fitting way to round up, to wrap up the season than with David Moore talking Hall of Fame. And let's talk Jimmy Johnson, who found out last Sunday on the Fox halftime show that he is headed to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it was really great for, I think, viewers to be dropped in to see the joy and the emotion that comes when you get a surprise announcement. Jimmy had kind of put this in the back of his mind, and look, I think a lot of people had, the Centennial class, the slate was actually on Wednesday, and they went ahead and jumped ahead, and they did Bill Cowher on Saturday night and Jimmy Johnson Sunday afternoon, and just the almost inability to talk because you're having trouble breathing. And I thought Fox handled it beautifully in cutting away to Troy Aikman, who was calling the game in Green Bay, watching it in the booth and seeing how emotional he got and just his attention. I mean, he was just so focused on that moment that Jimmy was having as one of the few people who's lived it himself and kind of reflecting back on what he went through. But, Troy had always said that he felt that Jimmy should have been the first person from those teams to get into the Hall of Fame. He understood why it was taking longer because of the relatively short period of time Jimmy coached, but it was just so happy to see him get in.
And then fast forward to Wednesday morning when the rest of that 15-person Centennial class was announced. Cliff Harris gets in, Drew Pearson does not. They were the two finalists from the Cowboys. And let's start with Cliff Harris, obviously well-deserving for an all-decade player from the 70s.
Yeah, just an outstanding player. And while I don't believe that Cowboys bias exists today, and you look at this, I mean, 2 of the 4 Cowboys who were up got in. No other franchise had more than 2. Most had none. But back in the 70s and earlier, there was a bias, which is why you saw Cliff Harris and Drew Pearson were the only 2 members of the 1970s All-Decade team who weren't in the Hall of Fame. Cliff is in now. Just an outstanding player, a hard hitter, was at his best usually in the postseason. I think he played in 21 postseason games, 6 interceptions during that period. Just really helped coordinate that defense.
And then as far as Drew is concerned, obviously the disappointment, the emotion afterwards as TV cameras at his house. How in the world does this happen?
Well, this is really inexplicable because now not only is he the only member of that 1970s All-Decade team that's not in the Hall of Fame, step back a little bit farther, every receiver who's been first or second all-decade team from 1980 on, all of them are in the Hall of Fame. And now go really far back and you look at the 9 all-decade teams. So there have been 18 starting wide receivers on the 9 all-decade teams. Drew Pearson is the only member who is not in the Hall of Fame. It really is inexplicable. And I do think this helps him next year. I think he's at the top of the senior class. And now it's to the point where, he's not diffusing these numbers or sharing them with Cliff or some others. He has them all to himself. And I think the voters are going to say, well, how in the world can we justify him not being in now when you look at the preponderance of evidence, how we've treated everyone else who's been in his position? I know it doesn't help Drew right now, but I really do believe this helps him next year going forward.
All right, we'll have more with David. We'll pick Sunday's games a little bit later here on Cowboys Huddle. Up next, it's Nick Eatman to talk about this Cowboys team approaching the offseason.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now inside the Academy Sports and Outdoors studios. Bill Jones now joined by Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com as we look ahead to this Cowboys offseason and positions of need for this Cowboys team. Of course, with all the unrestricted free agents, 25 or so in all, there's a lot of positions of need, and we'll see what transpires along that route. But let's start on offense. What do you think might be a way they would go as we look forward to maybe the draft on down the road?
Well, I think that you have to start at the tight end position. That we'll still see what the future is for Jason Witten, but I think that it's safe to say that he's probably not coming back. And Blake Jarwin, I think he certainly showed at times that he could maybe take that next step. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody maybe first round, second round, if tight end, if there's a guy there that maybe a little bit more polished blocker, a little bit more athletic. And what we're seeing in the playoffs, that tight ends are really valuable for these teams. And so tight end would be the one spot I could see the Cowboys maybe drafting a guy there.
And on the defensive side of the ball?
Yes. I mean, yeah, just whatever.
All three levels.
Whatever's there. I mean, when you get to the draft, obviously all those decisions you talked about from free agency will have been made. So, or a lot of them at least. So, do they re-sign Malik Collins? Do they re-sign Byron Jones? I mean, we don't know how big a void there might be. Free agency is supposed to be the time that you cover all bases and then you go and get the best player. But I can't see a cornerback not being, a spot where you would want to take one, even if you re-sign Byron Jones. You got Cheeto and Jordan next year up for contracts. So you always need good corners. Mike Zimmer used to say that every single year. You can never have too many of those guys, and I agree with that. Linebackers, question marks there with the neck injury to Leighton Vander Esch. And then I want to see a defensive tackle. I want to see how they value defensive tackle. It used to be they didn't want to take one in the first round. But I don't know. I think it'd be an area of need. And what about pass rusher? Do they re-sign Quinn? Do they re-sign, Michael Bennett? What's going on there? So defensive end, pass rusher, everything. I mean, did I leave anything out? Safety? Yeah. Pick up a safety, Yeah. So you can't not have a need there on defense.
With Mike McCarthy taking over this team, do you think it's even more exciting for him or intriguing because there are so many vacancies at the end, so to speak, with all the free agents?
I don't know if that's exciting or is there something that keeps you up at night. I mean, yes, it's exciting, but that means that there's a lot of questions there. But, we see it all the time. We hear it about draft, best player available. I don't ever know if that's really true. I mean, it's usually best available need. But you really could take the best player available, especially if it's on defense, because you can figure out a way to put that player in here.
All right, Nick Eatman, we appreciate it. And up next, let's talk to Wilma Clay and see what's been going on behind the scenes here at the Star the last couple of weeks. Welcome back to Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy. Inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios, Bill Jones, now joined by Wilma Clay, who, of course, has been with us all season long, breaking down the opponents. But let's break down this Cowboys team as we approach this offseason. And first off, what's the last week and a half, 2 weeks been like for you?
It's been 100 miles an hour. It's been a change for us because, for 10 years it's been the same same people, same system, and now we're learning new things and new approaches and adjusting to that.
All right, and Mike McCarthy comes in here, and he hit the ground running right after the introductory press conference. And so what's been going on behind the scenes as far as getting the coach up to speed here?
Yeah, no, he's been trying to find his staff and formalize that, and they've been talking about the approach that we're going to take as far as offensively, defensively, and on special teams, and then talking about players and things that they're looking for offensively and defensively, and just kind of getting used to everything and getting on the same page. Explaining to him what we do, how we do it, and seeing how that jives and what we'll have to adjust.
Yep. And what is it about Mike McCarthy? Of course, you've been he's been on the other side, on the Packers side, over the course of the last decade and a half, really. What is it about Mike McCarthy that impresses you the most?
His detail and his passion. I mean, very, very detailed. Like sitting in meetings with him about the beginning practice, the beginning message, all those things, all the way up to practice, how he wants it, how he wants to fundamentally teach offensively and defensively before expanding. It's just, he's a teacher, he's got a plan, and he's very confident in that plan.
Now, you're headed to the Senior Bowl, obviously, Mobile, Alabama, this coming week. How important is it for you and the scouting staff to be on the same page and know what these coaches are looking for when you go start this draft process?
I think it's very important because we're looking for the groceries. So we want to understand what we're shopping for. And it's still, it's going to be similar to what we had, but we're going to look at things a little bit differently from different positions. But it's our opportunity to get to know the players and get in front of them and start to find out who they are. We will know a lot of them, how they play on the field. We'll get them in a different environment, but we get to find out who they are. We get to interview them. We get to find out what's inside of them, and that's the exciting part about the Senior Bowl.
All right, in general, what's the profile of a player that the Dallas Cowboys are interested in?
We're looking for guys that compete, that love the game of football, and that can make plays. That's what we've got to have and build this roster with.
All right. How important is the Senior Bowl in that process as far as the way that you're able to go down there and really take a good, hard look at a player actually on the field in practice?
It's such a unique perspective because normally, like you'll go in colleges, you'll go and you'll watch them, and a lot of our scouts get kicked off and they're got to go out of practice after 30 minutes. Now you get to see the full practice. You get to interact with them. You get to see them in a different environment because so often they're in their college system for 3 or 4 years. It's kind of routine for them. Now it's NFL coaching. It's a different scheme. They're going to have to learn things, see how quickly they pick things up and how well they learn.
Yeah, there's no time for you to come up for air the next 4 months, right?
No, not at all.
We appreciate the time, not only this week, but every week throughout the season, Will. And coming up next here on Cowboys Huddle, we're going to take a look at the conference championship games with David Moore. Final couple minutes here of Cowboys Huddle as David Moore rejoins me now. We're picking the conference championship games. Let's start with the AFC game at 2 o'clock on CBS. Tennessee plays at Kansas City. Who do you like?
Amazing that Tennessee is in this position. I'm not sure anyone even in Tennessee would have picked them to go to the championship game given who they had to play on the road New England, on the road Baltimore. The difference to me is even if they jump ahead of Kansas City 14-0 or 21-0, we've seen what the Chiefs can do. They're the team that's been there. They got to the division. They got to the AFC championship game last year. I would expect Kansas City to go through here.
And in the NFC game in San Francisco, it's Green Bay playing at the Niners.
Now I have to check this. You can help me on this, but didn't those two teams combine last year to win a total of 10 games? Right? I think between Green Bay and so everyone's going to point to Aaron Rodgers. He has been there. Jimmy Garoppolo has not. You certainly don't dismiss that. We've seen Aaron Rodgers have some spectacular moments in the postseason. But this San Francisco team, I mean, just week in and week out, I think people are saying, okay, well, let's see what they do this next week. And then they take care of business then. Then it's like, okay, well, let's see what they do against Baltimore, this team. And they're always there. Just so well-rounded. I'm going 49ers.
Okay, so a 49ers-Chiefs Super Bowl. Thank you very much all season long, David Moore, and we appreciate you joining us throughout the season as well. It should be a very busy, active offseason for your Dallas Cowboys, and we will see you next time.
Cowboys Huddle was brought to you by Ford. Ford is the best in Texas. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.